Good morning, everyone. I want you to think about something right now. Think about the life you dream of, the success, the freedom, the impact you want to make. Now ask yourself, why do so few people actually achieve it? Why is it that only 2% of people rise to the top while the other 98% settle for less? Is it luck? Is it talent? Is it some secret formula only a chosen few have? Hell no, the difference isn't in resources. It's in resourcefulness. It's not intelligence. It's mindset. It's not luck. It's unshakable discipline and relentless action. And today, I'm going to tell you exactly what separates that 2% from the rest. 1. The 2% take full ownership of their lives. The 98%, they blame, they make excuses. I didn't have the right parents. The economy sucks. I'm not naturally gifted. The 2%, they take radical ownership of everything. No excuses. No victim mentality. If they don't know something, they learn it. If they fail, they adapt. They don't wait for the perfect conditions. They create them. Success doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who decide. 2. The 2% have an obsession, not just an interest. Listen to me. Interest is weak. It's what the 98% have. They're interested in success, but they're not willing to pay the price. The 2%, they are obsessive. They breathe it, eat it, sleep it. They wake up thinking about it and go to bed strategizing their next move. It's not a hobby. It's their purpose. You don't get what you kind of want. You get what you're willing to go all in for. 3, the 2% do what others won't. The 98% avoid discomfort. They hit snooze. They procrastinate. They choose Netflix over work, distractions over discipline. The 2%, they do the hard things. They wake up early. They put in extra hours. They make sacrifices. When everyone else is relaxing, they're grinding, they're training, they're leveling up. The question is, are you willing to do what others won't, to have what others never will? 4, the 2% master their mindset. Success isn't about what's in your bank account. It starts in your mind. The 98% let fear control them. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of stepping outside their comfort zone. The 2%, they reprogram their minds. They condition themselves to think differently. They don't see failure as the end. They see it as feedback. They don't focus on problems. They focus on solutions. What you focus on, you feel, and what you feel determines what you do. So if you want to change your life, you have to change the way you think. 5, the 2% never quit. They adapt. Let me tell you the truth. Success is ugly. It's messy. It's hard. The 98% hit a wall and quit. The 2% hit the same wall and say, all right, time to find another way through. They adapt. They pivot. They keep moving forward. When everyone else is turning back, that's why they win. That's why they make history. That's why they succeed. Now, it's decision time. You have a choice to make right now. Are you going to be part of the 98% who watch, wish, and wonder? Or are you going to step up, take control, and join the 2% who actually make it happen? It's not going to be easy. But if you commit, if you decide right now that you are done with mediocrity, then nothing can stop you. Your future is waiting. Your success is waiting. The only question is, are you ready to claim it? Taking radical ownership means stepping into complete control of your life, refusing to allow excuses, circumstances, or external factors to dictate your outcomes. It's the mindset shift that separates those who achieve greatness from those who remain stuck. Most people operate under the illusion that their failures and struggles are the result of outside forces. They blame the economy, their upbringing, their lack of resources, or the people around them. They tell themselves stories that justify their inaction. They say, if only I had better opportunities, or if only I had more time, or if only someone helped me. This is the exact thought process that keeps people trapped in mediocrity. The moment you shift from blaming to owning, everything changes. The most successful people in the world, the ones who rise to the top of their industries, the ones who achieve the seemingly impossible, have one thing in common. They take complete and total ownership of their lives. They don't make excuses. They don't wait for permission. They don't hope that someone will come and save them. They look at their situation, no matter how bad, and say, this is on me. It's my responsibility to change it. This mindset is not easy. It requires brutal self-honesty. It requires you to stop pointing fingers at your past, your environment, or any external factor, and instead ask, what can I do about this? because the truth is, no matter what happens, you always have a choice. You can let circumstances define you, or you can decide that you will define your own path. People who lack ownership are always looking for an external fix. They want someone to hand them success. They want the right economy, the perfect boss, the perfect timing. They are waiting for the stars to align. But those who take radical ownership understand that waiting is a trap. There is no perfect time. There is no perfect opportunity. You create opportunities by taking action, by learning, by adapting, by refusing to accept defeat. The biggest breakthrough in life comes when you stop waiting for a miracle and start realizing that you are the miracle. You have everything within you to create the results you want. But it starts with accepting full responsibility for where you are right now. Most people don't want to do this. They don't want to admit that they are the reason they are stuck. They don't want to acknowledge that their lack of discipline, their fear, their excuses, and their hesitation are what's holding them back. It's easier to believe that the system is against them. It's easier to blame other people for their failures. But here's the problem: the moment you place blame outside of yourself, you give away your power. You become powerless to change because you've convinced yourself that external factors are in control. Taking ownership is the opposite. It's reclaiming your power. It's saying, no matter what happens, I am in control of how I respond. I am in control of how I show up. I am in control of my results. Think about the most successful people you admire. They didn't get there by making excuses. They didn't get there by blaming the economy, the government, their upbringing, or any external factor. They got there because they decided that no matter where they started, no matter how many obstacles they faced, they were going to make it happen. They understood that success is not about conditions. It's about decisions. And the most important decision you can make is to own your life completely. When you take radical ownership, you stop feeling like a victim and start thinking like a creator. You stop complaining and start taking action. You stop waiting for the perfect conditions and start making progress with what you have. It doesn't mean you won't face challenges. It doesn't mean things will always go your way. But it does mean that no matter what happens, you will find a way. The 98% let obstacles stop them. The 2% find a way through, around, or over every single challenge. Look at the most resilient people in history. They faced failures, setbacks, and unimaginable adversity. But they never allowed those things to define them. They refused to accept excuses. They took full responsibility for their outcomes. They didn't blame their past. They didn't blame other people. They used every failure as fuel. They used every setback as a lesson. And because of that, they grew stronger. They became unstoppable. That's what radical ownership does. It gives you the power to control your future, no matter what happens. Most people will never embrace this mindset. They are too comfortable in their excuses. They are too attached to their stories of why they can't succeed. They don't want to take responsibility because responsibility means pressure. Responsibility means they can't blame anyone else, and that terrifies them. But here's the reality: until you take full ownership of your life, you will always be at the mercy of circumstances. You will always be waiting. You will always feel stuck. Ownership is the key to freedom. It's the key to breaking free from limitation. The moment you decide that everything in your life is your responsibility, you gain the power to change everything. It's easy to see someone successful and assume they had advantages you didn't. It's easy to believe they had luck, better resources, better timing. But that's just an excuse. There are people who started with nothing, who faced greater struggles than you, who still made it happen. Why? Because they refused to believe in limitations. They refused to let circumstances control their destiny. They took full ownership, no matter how unfair, how difficult, how impossible things seemed. They made a choice to take control of their future. If you look at where you are right now, the life you have is the result of the decisions you've made. Every choice, every habit, every belief has brought you here. And that's not meant to make you feel bad. It's meant to empower you, because if your past decisions created this reality, that means your future decisions can create a new one. You are not stuck. You are not a victim. You are not powerless. but you have to be willing to take responsibility for everything. That's the only way things will change. Radical ownership means looking at your failures and instead of making excuses, asking yourself, what could I have done differently? It means taking accountability for your habits, your routines, your mindset, and your actions. It means understanding that your results are 100% within your control. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to do the work for you. No one is going to hand you success. You have to take it. You have to own it. You have to step up and become the person who makes it happen. Most people avoid this because it's hard. It's easier to point fingers. It's easier to complain. It's easier to justify why things aren't working. But that's exactly why most people stay stuck. The moment you take full responsibility for your life, you take back your power. You stop being a passive observer and start becoming the architect of your future. The truth is, you already have everything you need to succeed. It's not about waiting for the right opportunity, the right moment, or the right circumstances. It's about deciding right now that you are in control. Because the second you make that decision, your entire life will change. Most people are interested in success, but very few are obsessed with it. Interest is weak. Interest means you'll do something when it's convenient, when it feels good, when the conditions are just right. But obsession, that's an entirely different level. Obsession means you do it no matter what. You wake up thinking about it. You go to bed strategizing. You dream about it. It's not a hobby. It's not something you dabble in. It's something that consumes you. The people who truly make it in life, the ones who achieve extraordinary success, are not the ones who are merely interested. They are the ones who are obsessed. They have an unshakable, relentless drive that refuses to let them stop. They don't treat success like an option. They treat it like a necessity. It's not a wish. It's a must. When you are merely interested in something, you'll do what's convenient. You'll work hard when it feels good, when motivation is high, when the circumstances allow for it. But the moment it gets tough, the moment there's an obstacle, the moment life throws a challenge in your way, you step back, you slow down, you start making excuses. You tell yourself, maybe this isn't for me, or I'll try again later. That's what the 98% do. They convince themselves that their dreams are optional, that their success depends on external factors, that they'll take action when things are easier, and that's why they never achieve the extraordinary. But the 2%, they operate on a different level. They are obsessed. They are committed beyond reason. They show up when they're tired. They show up when they're uninspired. They show up when it's inconvenient. They show up when everything is against them. They don't have an off switch. They don't have a backup plan. They don't waste time waiting for motivation because they understand that success isn't about how you feel. It's about what you do consistently. Obsession doesn't care about feelings. It doesn't care about comfort. It doesn't care about circumstances. It only cares about the result. That's why the obsessed win. That's why they rise above everyone else. Think about the greatest athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, innovators, and leaders. They didn't get to the top by being interested. They got there because they were consumed by their vision. They were willing to work longer, push harder, sacrifice more, and endure more than anyone else. They lived and breathed their craft. They didn't make room for distractions. They didn't entertain mediocrity. They didn't waste time seeking balance. They went all in. Their work wasn't just something they did. It was who they were. They weren't chasing success as an outcome. They were becoming the kind of person who attracts success naturally. That's what obsession does. It transforms you. It rewires your identity. It forces you to evolve into someone unstoppable. Most people never reach their true potential because they refuse to commit at this level. They stay in the realm of interest. They talk about their dreams, but they never fully commit. They dabble. They hesitate. They get excited for a few weeks and then they fizzle out. They fall into patterns of inconsistency. They start strong, but they never finish. They let distractions steal their focus. They let comfort seduce them into mediocrity. And then they wonder why they aren't where they want to be. They look at successful people and assume they got lucky or had some secret advantage. But the only secret is this: the successful are willing to do what the unsuccessful refuse to do. They are willing to go all in when others hesitate. They are willing to put in the work long after the excitement fades. They are willing to sacrifice comfort for greatness. They are willing to keep going even when it feels like nothing is working. Obsession is the difference between making excuses and making progress. The 98% find reasons why they can't. The 2% find a way. The 98% wait for the right time. The 2% take action right now. The 98% let failure discourage them. The 2% use failure as fuel. The 98% seek approval. The 2% don't care what anyone thinks. The 98% spend their time on distractions. The 2% cut out anything that doesn't align with their mission. The difference is night and day. It's not subtle. It's extreme. And that's exactly why the obsessed win. When you are obsessed, you don't need motivation. You don't need to be reminded to show up. You don't need someone to hold your hand. You do it because it's who you are. You do it because you can't imagine doing anything else. Your mind is locked in. Your actions are relentless. You don't see obstacles as stop signs. You see them as challenges to overcome. You don't fear hard work. You embrace it. You don't complain about sacrifices. You make them without hesitation. You don't look for shortcuts. You take the long road because you know it's the only road that leads to true mastery. Most people spend their lives chasing balance, trying to keep everything comfortable, avoiding extremes, but balance never leads to greatness. Obsession does. Balance keeps you safe, but obsession makes you unstoppable. You don't achieve extraordinary results with an ordinary level of commitment. You don't break records, revolutionize industries, or change the world by being half in. You do it by going all in, by dedicating yourself so fully to your mission that failure becomes impossible because you refuse to quit. That's how the 2% think. That's why they separate themselves from the rest. People will call you crazy. They won't understand your level of commitment. They'll tell you to slow down, to take it easy, to be realistic. That's because they don't operate at your level. They don't understand what it takes. They don't have the fire. But that's not your problem. You are not here to be like them. You are here to win. You are here to dominate. You are here to prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you ever imagined. The opinions of the 98% are irrelevant. They don't get it. They never will. But that's why they stay average while the obsessed rise. The reality is every great achiever has been called crazy at some point. Every visionary, every game changer, every world-class performer has been misunderstood, but they didn't let that stop them. They didn't tone it down to make others comfortable. They didn't let small-minded people talk them out of their dreams. They didn't lower their standards to fit in with the crowd. They kept pushing, kept grinding, kept proving everyone wrong. That's what you must do. You must be willing to separate yourself from the pack. You must be willing to live differently, think differently, work differently. Because the life you want requires a different version of you. It requires the obsessed version of you. Most people will never know what it feels like to be truly committed to something. They will never know the satisfaction of pushing themselves to their limits and discovering what they are truly capable of. They will never know what it's like to chase a dream with everything they have and refuse to stop until it becomes reality. But you have a choice. You can stay in the realm of interest, where most people live, where nothing ever really changes, where dreams remain just dreams. Or you can cross over into obsession, where results happen, where transformation happens, where legends are made. The choice is yours. Most people want success, but very few are willing to do what it actually takes to achieve it. Everyone says they want financial freedom, an elite-level physique, a thriving business, or an extraordinary life. But when it comes time to pay the price, most step back. They dream big, but they act small. They love the idea of winning, but they don't want the sacrifice that comes with it. They crave comfort more than they crave success. And that is why 98% of people never reach their full potential. The 2%, they operate on a different level. They understand that success isn't given, it's earned. And it's earned by doing what others are unwilling to do. Discipline is the foundation of everything. The 98% work when they feel like it, when it's convenient, when the conditions are right. The 2% work regardless of how they feel. They don't rely on motivation because they know motivation is temporary. Instead, they rely on systems, habits, and discipline. They wake up earlier. They train harder. They focus longer. They execute with precision. They do the boring, repetitive, unglamorous work that no one sees because they know that's where success is built. Most people quit when the excitement fades. They love the start. They crave the rush of new beginnings. But when the grind sets in, when the results don't come fast enough, they start making excuses. They tell themselves, maybe this isn't for me. The 2% don't entertain those thoughts. They keep going long after the excitement is gone. They show up when they're tired, when they're uninspired, when they're frustrated. They understand that true commitment means doing the work even when it's the last thing they feel like doing. Sacrifice is the second key. Most people won't let go of what's comfortable. They refuse to give up the distractions, the bad habits, the social events, the entertainment, the easy pleasures that keep them from leveling up. They want success, but they're not willing to trade their comfort for it. The 2%, they let go of anything that doesn't serve their mission. They cut out toxic relationships. They eliminate wasted time. They say no to anything that doesn't move them forward. They are ruthless with their priorities. While the 98% are watching Netflix, scrolling on social media, or hanging out with people who don't push them, the 2% are working. They are studying. They are building. They are sharpening their skills. They don't seek balance. They seek greatness. They are willing to be misunderstood, to be different, to be criticized. They don't need validation because they are too focused on the mission to care about opinions. Most people avoid discomfort. They take the easy path. They want the body, but they won't commit to the workouts. They want wealth, but they won't invest the time to build something of value. They want success, but they aren't willing to endure the struggle that comes with it. The 2% see discomfort as a requirement, not a punishment. They push through the pain. They embrace the struggle. They use obstacles as fuel. They don't complain about how hard it is. They expect it to be hard. They understand that success is reserved for those who can endure the suffering that others run from. Most people want the reward without the process. They want the victory without the battle. The 2% don't think like that. They know that the process is what makes them. The struggle is what forges them. The pain is what builds them into a version of themselves that nothing can break. Someone who deserves success. There is no secret. There is no shortcut. Success is a brutal process. It's late nights, early mornings, setbacks, failures, and endless repetition of the basics. The 98% don't want that. They want the fast track, the overnight success, the magic formula. That's why they fall for scams, for get-rich-quick schemes, for anything that promises big results with little effort. The 2% know better. They know that everything worthwhile takes time, takes effort, takes consistency. They are willing to grind in the dark for years before they ever see the light. They don't chase trends. Yes. They master fundamentals. They don't look for hacks. They build habits. They don't get distracted by shiny objects. They stay locked in on their mission. Most people are too impatient. They start something and expect results immediately. If they don't see progress fast enough, they quit. They jump from one thing to the next, never sticking with anything long enough to truly master it. The 2% have a different mindset. They commit for the long haul. They understand that success compounds over time. They don't expect instant gratification. They play the long game. While others are quitting, switching, chasing new opportunities, they are mastering their craft. They are outlasting the competition. They are putting in the work, knowing that eventually their consistency will pay off. Success is about doing what others won't, and that includes making decisions most people avoid. The 98% hesitate, they overthink, they second guess, they wait for the perfect time. The 2%, they move, they take action. They make decisions quickly and with confidence. They don't let fear slow them down. They don't let doubt stop them from moving forward. They know that indecision is the death of progress. While others are stuck in analysis paralysis, they are executing. They are failing, learning, adapting, and getting better. They don't fear failure because they know it's part of the process. They see every setback as a lesson, every mistake as an opportunity to improve. They don't let fear of what could go wrong stop them from chasing what could go right. The The biggest difference between the 2% and the 98% is commitment. Most people are halfway in, halfway out. They try, but they don't commit. They dabble, but they don't dedicate. They are looking for an easy way, a way to win without fully investing themselves. That's why they stay stuck. That's why they never break through. The 2% go all in. They burn the bridges. They remove the backup plans. They decide that they will make it happen no matter what. They don't entertain the possibility of failure. They don't give themselves an exit strategy. They commit at a level that forces them to succeed. They put themselves in situations where they have no choice but to grow. They don't just set goals. They build an identity around them. It's not about doing something. It's about becoming someone. Most people lack this level of commitment because they are too attached to comfort. They don't want to go all in because they fear losing what they already have. They play small. They settle. They allow mediocrity to creep into their mindset. They demand less from themselves. They expect less from life. The difference between the 2% and everyone else is simple. They do the things others won't. They show up when others quit. They push when others back down. They endure when others fold. They take action when others hesitate. They stay locked in when others get distracted. They outwork, outlast, and out-discipline the competition. And because of that, when most people have no sense of urgency when it comes to their goals, they drift through life as if they have all the time in the world, as if tomorrow is guaranteed, as if opportunities will always be there waiting for them. They wake up, go through the motion, and tell themselves they'll start tomorrow, next week, or next year. They act as if success is something they can casually stroll toward, something they can approach at their own convenience. And that is exactly why they never achieve it. The 2% don't think this way. They understand that time is the most valuable resource they have, and they refuse to waste it. They operate with a level of urgency that most people don't understand. They move fast. They take action. They don't wait for the perfect time because they know the perfect time will never come. They don't hesitate. They don't overthink. They don't delay because they understand that every second wasted is a second they'll never get back. Most people live in a constant state of procrastination. They tell themselves they'll start when they feel ready, when they have more money, when the timing is better, when life isn't so chaotic. But readiness is a lie. No one ever truly feels ready. No one ever reaches a point where everything is perfectly aligned, where the fear disappears, where the conditions are ideal. The 2% know this, and that's why they don't wait. They start before they're ready. They take action even when they're unsure. They move forward even when fear is screaming at them to stop. They understand that waiting kills dreams. That hesitation is the enemy of progress. That indecision keeps people trapped in mediocrity. They know that the longer they wait, the harder it becomes to start. So they don't allow hesitation to take root. They condition themselves to take immediate action. The 98% are stuck in a cycle of talking without doing. They have big dreams, grand plans, endless ideas, but they never execute. They love to discuss what they're going to do. They get excited about new possibilities. They make vision boards and write down goals. But when it comes to actually doing the work, they stall. They let distractions pull them away. They allow fear to slow them down. They look for excuses rather than solutions. And as the years pass, they stay in the same place, wondering why their life hasn't changed. The 2% don't make this mistake. They don't get caught up in endless planning. They don't waste time talking about what they're going to do. They just do it. They take action first and figure things out along the way. They understand that progress is built through movement, not through overthinking. They trust themselves to adapt, to learn, to improve as they go. Most people avoid urgency because urgency requires effort. It requires stepping out of the comfort zone, facing fears, and making sacrifices. It means giving up instant gratification in exchange for long-term success. It means trading short-term pleasure for lasting achievement. And that's a trade most people aren't willing to make. They would rather live comfortably in the short term and suffer in the long run than push themselves now and reap the rewards later. The 2% don't think like this. They play the long game. They understand that the pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts a lifetime. They refuse to be the person who looks back in 5, 10 or 20 years and wonders what could have been. They don't allow themselves to live with what ifs. They choose to take massive action today so that they never have to live with regret tomorrow. The biggest difference between the successful and the unsuccessful is speed of execution. The 98% hesitate, analyze, and second guess themselves. They let fear keep them stuck. They overcomplicate simple decisions. They wait for permission. They look for reassurance. The 2% don't wait for permission. They don't need anyone to tell them it's okay to start. They don't waste time seeking approval. They act. They execute. They move forward even when they don't have all the answers. They know that action creates momentum, and momentum leads to results. They understand that imperfect action is always better than perfect inaction. They refuse to let perfectionism become an excuse for procrastination. They take the first step knowing that clarity comes through action, not thinking. Most people don't truly value their time. They waste hours, days, even years on meaningless activities that don't serve their goals. They spend their evenings watching TV, scrolling on their phones, engaging in conversations that go nowhere. They live as if they have unlimited time, as if they can't afford to waste entire days doing nothing productive. The 2% understand that time is the one thing they can never get back. They guard it with everything they have. They eliminate distractions, cut out time, wasting activities, and surround themselves with people who push them forward. They know that every hour spent on something unproductive is an hour stolen from their future success. They don't allow themselves to fall into the trap of meaningless business. They focus on what truly matters. They prioritize the actions that will move them forward the fastest. They are ruthless in protecting their time because they know that every second counts. There is no room for hesitation in the mindset of the 2%. They don't allow fear to dictate their decisions. They don't let self-doubt slow them down. They don't let temporary discomfort keep them from taking action. They understand that success is reserved for those who move, those who act, those who refuse to let opportunities slip through their fingers. They condition themselves to be action takers, to move with urgency in everything they do, to attack their goals with an unstoppable drive. They don't wait for opportunities. They create them. They don't wait for the right moment. They make the moment right. They don't sit back and hope for success. They go out and make it happen. Most people live their lives reacting to circumstances rather than taking control of them. They let the days pass without direction. They let their dreams sit on the shelf, waiting for the perfect time to pursue them. But the perfect time never comes. The days turn into weeks, the weeks into months, the months into years, and before they know it, life has passed them by. The 2% refuse to let that happen. They understand that life is happening now. Success isn't something they hope for in the future. It's something they build today. They refuse to waste another second. They refuse to let time slip through their fingers. They refuse to live with regret. They understand that the key to success isn't just about working hard. It's about working now. It's about recognizing that every moment is an opportunity. It's about realizing that time is the only thing they can never get back. They operate with an urgency that separates them from the rest of the world. They move differently. They think differently. They execute differently. And because of that, they achieve differently. Most people live their lives in a reactive state. They respond to circumstances instead of creating them. They go through the motions, letting the world dictate their outcomes instead of taking control of their destiny. They wake up every day with no clear direction, no real strategy, and no deep commitment to mastery. They let distractions, excuses, and fear run their lives. They start projects and never finish them. They set goals and never follow through. They get excited about the idea of success, but they never build the systems to sustain it. And that's why they never reach their full potential. The 2% don't operate like this. They don't leave their success up to chance. They take full ownership of their results. They know that nothing is coming to save them. No one is going to hand them success. They understand that their future is entirely in their own hands, and they act accordingly. The 98% live in a cycle of excuses. They blame their circumstances, their upbringing, the economy, the government, their lack of resources, or their past failures. They look outside of themselves for reasons why they aren't where they want to be. They convince themselves that if things were just a little different, they would finally take action. But the truth is, success has nothing to do with external circumstances and everything to do with mindset, discipline, and execution. The 2% understand this. They refuse to make excuses. They refuse to let their past define their future. They refuse to wait for conditions to be perfect before they start. They take ownership of everything, every success, every failure, every mistake, and every lesson. They don't point fingers. They look in the mirror. If something isn't working, they adjust. If they fail, they learn. If they fall, they get back up. They operate with a level of responsibility that most people never develop. Most people want results, but they aren't willing to take full responsibility for them. They want financial success, but blame the economy. They want to be fit, but blame their genetics. They want to start a business, but blame their lack of experience. They always have a reason why they can't succeed. And as long as they keep making excuses, they remain stuck. The 2% don't allow that kind of thinking. They know that the only thing standing between them and success is their own level of effort, focus, and consistency. They don't make excuses for why they can't. They find ways to make it happen. They take full responsibility for their actions, their mindset, their habits, and their discipline. They never allow themselves to believe that their success is out of their hands. They know that every single decision they make is either moving them closer to their goals or further away. Taking responsibility means doing the work even when no one is watching. Most people do things only when they feel like it, only when it's convenient, or only when someone is holding them accountable. They show up inconsistently. They put in effort when it's easy, but the moment things get difficult, they back down. The 2% don't operate like this. They hold themselves accountable at the highest level. They have internal standards that drive them to excellence. They don't need someone to tell them to work harder. They don't need motivation to take action. They have built an identity around being disciplined, focused, and relentless. They push themselves to higher levels not because someone is watching, but because they demand it from themselves. Most people underestimate how much control they have over their own success. They think talent is what separates them from the top performers. They think luck plays a bigger role than it actually does. They assume successful people had advantages that they didn't. But the truth is, success is a choice. It's a daily commitment to excellence. It's a willingness to do what others won't. It's about mastering the fundamentals, showing up consistently, and refusing to settle for mediocrity. The 2% understand that their effort, their discipline, and their habits are what determine their success. They know that every single day is an opportunity to get better, and they take that opportunity seriously. Most people let distractions control their lives. They waste hours scrolling on social media, watching meaningless content, engaging in conversations that don't matter. They let small, insignificant things steal their time, energy, and focus. And then they wonder why they aren't making progress. The 2% don't allow distractions to dictate their success. They are intentional about where they place their energy. They eliminate anything that doesn't serve their mission. They don't waste time on things that don't move them forward. They design their environment to support their goals. They structure their days for maximum productivity. They cut out anything that slows them down. They don't entertain negativity, gossip, or drama. They protect their energy because they know that every ounce of focus they waste is an ounce of progress they lose. Most people operate at 50% of their potential. They put in effort, but not enough to break through. They work hard, but they don't work with intensity. They want success, but they aren't willing to push past their limits. The 2% operate at a different level. They don't settle for good enough. They don't accept mediocrity in any area of their lives. They push themselves harder than anyone else ever would. They raise their own standards, and they don't allow themselves to drop below them. They train harder. They study longer. They work smarter. They refine their craft obsessively. They are constantly looking for ways to improve. They never allow themselves to get complacent. Most people think success is about talent, intelligence, or luck. But the 2% know it's about commitment. focus, and persistence. It's about taking full ownership of your time, your habits, and your results. It's about refusing to accept excuses, distractions, or anything that pulls you away from your goals. It's about developing an unshakable mindset, a relentless work ethic, and an unstoppable drive. Most people are waiting for someone to give them permission to be great. The 2% don't wait. They decide, they take action, they take control of their future. And because of that, they win.